Hi, welcome to my craft room, and look what I have made for you. This is the faux medal, and I have all of the instructions typed up on the back of this card, and I have one made just for you. Let me show you a couple of cards that I have used with this faux medal technique. Let's zoom in on this. This is one that I see by the ribbon. I made this last fall, and this is one that I've just made with the Mosaic Madness stamp set. The items you're going to need is VersaMark. You're going to need embossing powder. I've chose silver. You're going to need a heat tool, and this is a piece of Whisper white cardstock measuring 2 3/4 by 2 1/2. Basically, to figure out the size, it needs to be just a little bit larger than your stamp that you're going to be stamping. And then a must is the silicone craft sheet. Tweezers and a paper piercing tool will come in very handy as well. A catcher, if you have one of these, I've added a piece of cardboard in the bottom just to help catch some of that embossing powder that wants to fly off when you're heating it. Okay, let's get started. Take your VersaMark pad, and you want to thoroughly cover this piece of cardstock. You want to go one way and then the other. You don't want any spaces to not be covered. And then I'm going to take the tweezers and I'm just going to barely pick up the corner. And I recommend that you put your embossing powder into a container. Then you can just bring this right down into that container so that you don't have that powder flying everywhere. And then just shake off the excess. And now you are ready to put it in your catcher. I like to preheat my heating tool, then that way when I bring it to my cardstock, it's already preheated and moves much faster. If you notice, I have my tweezers under the piece of cardstock and not holding on to it on top because I don't want any indentations from those tweezers. I want all of this to be thoroughly embossed. And once that powder's all gone, then you still want to circle that a little bit. Now that should cool to the touch before you do the next step. But I want you to notice that right now that piece of cardstock with the embossing looks a little grainy. But as we add our layers, it'll become shinier and shinier. You know, you could do this and use any embossing powder that you chose. I'm doing this because I want the metal look. But this would be very appropriate for any color, and I'm sure as Christmas approaches, you're going to come up with lots of great ideas. Be sure and share them with me, okay? Okay, this is layer 2, and you can see already that that's beginning to look a little more solid. The stamp that we're going to be using is from the Delicate Doilies. It's a little bit larger stamp. I just want to show you what it's like to work with a larger stamp. I put just a tiny bit of that VersaMark onto that stamp so that it works as a release. And now let's do our third layer of embossing powder. You can go to my blog at stampqueen101.com, and there I'm going to have all of the information for you on the items that you need to purchase to do this technique. And just click on the little shopping cart and you can shop right from my blog. It'll take you right into the Stampin' Up store. And I love sending thank you cards. I appreciate you being my customer so very much. And I'd love to send you one of the faux medal technique cards along with that. I'm hoping that this is a technique that you will try. It's very dramatic. People cannot believe that you have created this yourself. So let's get to it. Let's put the heat on this. And we're right down to the line now. We're almost finished. So look how that is beginning to shine. Isn't that beautiful? It looks like a sheet of metal. And as this really heats up, you're going to notice that there is some movement. I'm now changed my heat tool to my left hand, and I'm ready now to stamp into this hot embossing powder. And I'm really putting the pedal to the metal. Give that a second to release. And I've done this on purpose. I really wanted you to see that if your image does not completely stamp, all you have to do is just reheat it. Just turn that heat tool right back on, and pretty soon that image will be totally gone, and all of this embossing powder is ready to be stamped into once again. You can do this 2 or 3 times and it will turn out just perfect for you when you stamp. But one tip I want to pass on to you is pay attention to where it did not stamp well, and you want to make sure that that spot is really heated next time. Alright, this is another piece that I already have 4 layers of the VersaMark and embossing powder on, but I wanted to show you the simplicity of stamping a smaller stamp. I'm still pressing just as firmly, giving it a second to release, and then pull the stamp up. But you just don't have the intensity that you do with that larger stamp. This is, I'm adding a little bit of the eggplant envy to this, and this will not soak into this because it's set, but it will go into some of the grooves. Okay, now bring in your 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and you can notice that there's like a little fan design all around this that will fit into this punch perfectly. So make sure that you've got that even all the way around, and then you're ready to punch it out. And next, let's do our smaller one and do the very same thing. You can add any color into this that you would like just by adding the ink. Okay, now can you notice how this really kind of curves up? What I recommend you do is just get an old scrap of paper, or cardstock, and you want to add quite a bit of the multi-purpose glue to it, because this has all these layers, and so it's really built up, and it's going to take something to hold it down. I recommend that you hold that down until that glue really catches, and then you can just work with that a little bit on the back, and it's perfect. Add that to the smaller one as well. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this technique, and there's more to come. I'll be showing more ideas, and next we'll be creating this card, so stay tuned. Thank you.